Hello. So this series of this is going to be the first in a series of videos about a concept that a lot of my students struggle a lot with, which is corseting the spine. So what I mean by corseting is that when you're engaging the core, what you're trying to do is you're trying to pull all of those muscles in towards your central axis rather than letting the abdominal muscles balloon out when you engage your abs. And this is really foreign concept for a lot of people because they tend to balloon everything out rather than pulling it in. And I think that a major issue for a lot of people is they tend to think about mostly this six-pack abs, set of abs, but in order to corset, you need to use everything. So over these next series of videos, I'm going to go over a few exercises, kinesthetic awareness movements that can help you to develop a better relationship with how to use your core in that way. Why is this important? Because when you bear down or when you balloon your core muscles out, it's not actually doing what you want it to do, which is to stabilize the spine. So when you push everything out when you do core work, that's known in medicine as a Valsalva maneuver. And it's actually going to apply more pressure to the vertebral discs. So by doing the opposite of hugging everything in, what you're essentially doing is you are corseting the spine. You're corseting your vertebrae and you're stabilizing them. And for a movement practice, especially when we are using the spine in variable positions, such as rounding the back like this, or twisting, or going through different spinal mobilization movements, it's really important to understand this concept of corseting because that's what makes these unusual and sometimes some people would call dangerous ranges of motion actually very functional and safe. If you were to just kind of move your spine around like that and just totally let everything hang and relax, you're not stabilizing those vertebrae. So this is going to be kind of our first step into working with that. So the first exercise that I'm going to teach you, I think this is a really good place to start with building awareness, is a yogic movement known as Supta Padahastasana. Don't worry about the name. You're good. So what this essentially is arm to leg position, right? So I'm going to have you start out with the knees bent in this relatively neutral position. Right, arms are more or less by your sides. You can have them out a little bit to seat your shoulders. And then what you're going to do is you're going to inhale and extend a leg, right? And then from here, on your next inhalation, you're going to raise an arm over the head. Notice how my spine is pretty neutral in this position. I'm not arching my back. I'm not rounding my back. So what you're going to start by doing is you're going to take your right hand or the opposite hand to your abdomen. And I want you to think about gently pulling your navel in towards the spine, right? This isn't a really strong abdominal engagement. It's just a gentle pulling in. And the hand here will help you become aware of whether you're ballooning your stomach out like this. So you're trying to keep everything engaged. This is not like a full gymnastics bodyline drill where the lower back is pressed into the floor. We'll get to that eventually, but for right now, this is about kinesthetics. So from here, you're going to be lifting the leg, but the goal is going to be to use your psoas, these major flexor muscles, to lift up, rather than trying to engage your core to lift yourself up, right? So opposite foot stays firmly planted on the floor, and then as you exhale, you're going to slowly lift the arm and leg up, and then you're going to inhale and lower that arm and leg down. And your goal as you do this, I'm going to take the hand away, is that you're not really strongly pushing into the bent knee. You're stabilizing your hips on the floor, and you're thinking about using the leg itself to lift yourself up while pulling your navel in towards the spine. And that should really stabilize this abdominal area. So let me just show you. This is what we want. This is what we don't want. And you may notice that when I stopped corseting the spine, I started to move around a little bit more. So you're really trying to stabilize this, and you'll notice when I do that, my torso doesn't really move. And what's great about that is this movement then also becomes therapeutic. I'm using it to create space and lengthen the spine. So I would tell you to do this particular movement 3 to 6 times slowly with your breathing. You exhale up, you inhale to lower back down, back and forth. And on the last time, you hold the position and you breathe. And notice that even as I inhale, this stays corseted in. And that means that you're going to be having to use your diaphragm to breathe, not your abdomen. So we're not inhaling like that. You're inhaling using the rib cage. And after you've stayed there for 3 to 6 breaths, you're going to really feel this front of the leg. That's where I want most of the work. You shouldn't feel the core too much for this one. You're going to inhale and slowly lower the arm and leg down. Exhale to lower the arm. And inhale to bend the knee. And just take a moment to notice the difference between the abdomen on the left and right side. You might feel that there's more space on the side that you used, and almost like it's easier to access this gentle hugging sensation on one side than on the other. So that's the first exercise. Play around with that, and then look out for the next video on corseting.